I feel like the players have lost sense of reality a little bit, because imagine putting up a rat that a lot of unions do when it comes to like schools, construction companies, people that are making a lot less than the kind of money that the WNBA players are making. They got offered a max salary of over $1 million. Their max salary last year was $250,000, and now it's over $1 million. And then on top of that, the average salary is around $500,000. And then you're putting a rat out in public display. I don't know. I feel like you've lost sense of reality a little bit. That's not the real world. The real world does not want to hear constantly about millionaires' problems.
Instead of keeping the focus there, she chose to redirect attention. In that interview, Wilson said that, for a moment, WNBA history was erased. Those words weren't vague. They weren't misunderstood. They were pointed. And everyone watching knew exactly who that comment was aimed at, because let's be honest, no one erased Aya Wilson's history. Her resume is intact. Her trophies didn't disappear. Her dominance wasn't questioned. What changed was attention, visibility, mainstream oxygen. And that's the part some veterans still haven't learned how to separate from respect. This is where the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark could have fired back. She had every reason to. After 2 seasons of flagrant fouls, dismissive commentary, and constant attempts to minimize—
We're saying, hey, this could be Caitlin Clark's fault. And before I just flipped and lost my mind, I had to sit and think about it. And you know what, Caitlin Clark, this is all happening and it's your fault. You're the reason. Your greatness, your star power, you are the reason for there being no 2026 WNBA season as of now. Because had you not been such a great player and a big star, these women wouldn't be demanding all of the stuff that they're demanding right now. So yeah, I guess technically it is your fault, I guess. You're too big of a star.
As her impact, this would have been the moment to clap back. Social media would have loved it. The engagement would have exploded. The narrative war would have escalated instantly. She didn't do that. Instead, Clark responded the way franchise players respond. Calm, measured, almost boring in its maturity. She congratulated Wilson. She acknowledged the history. She talked about how standing on the shoulders of legends is part of what makes the league special. No shade, no subtext, no retaliation. And that's exactly why the response landed so hard, because leadership isn't about defending your ego. It's about expanding the room so everyone fits. Clark understands something that too many people in this league still don't. Attention is not a finite resource unless you treat it—
is taking to social media, taking to the public. And I want to share with you guys the most recent letter that was issued from the WNBPA. At midnight, the 2020 WNBA collective bargaining agreement will expire. Despite demonstrating our willingness to compromise in order to get a deal done, the WNBA and its teams have failed to meet us at the table with the same spirit and seriousness. Instead, they've remained committed to undervaluing player contributions, dismissing player concerns, and running out the clock. Today's display of an inflatable rat, a universal symbol of labor protest outside of the NBA store, calls attention to how the league and its teams have handled these negotiations. By delaying and clinging to the status quo, they are jeopardizing the livelihoods of players and the trust and investment of fans, all in the name of preserving.
Like one. Growth doesn't erase history. It amplifies it, if you let it. Aya Wilson is protecting legacy. Caitlin Clark is building infrastructure. That's the difference. Point one mindset says, don't forget what we did. The other says, look at what we can all become. And that's why this moment matters more than any MVP trophy or magazine cover. Because the future of the WNBA isn't just about who scores the most points or wins the most awards. It's about who understands how modern sports ecosystems actually work. Clark brings in new fans without asking old ones to leave. She doesn't need to diminish anyone's past to justify her presence. She doesn't frame success as a zero-sum game. That's why brands trust her. That's why casual fans stick around. That's why the league's growth tracks directly with her visibility.
That the WNBA has hostile players, bro. We all witnessed it during the 2025 and 24 season. These players pretty much hate Caitlin Clark with a passion. And I'm here to tell you right now, the hate is growing even stronger because many people in the Players Association and people in the media is blaming Caitlin Clark for potentially being the one holding out when it comes to the CBA not getting done. Now, the players had—
Wilson's comment revealed insecurity, Not weakness as a player, but uncertainty as a leader in a changing landscape. And Clark's response exposed it without ever calling it out. That's power. So when people ask why one player feels like the future while others feel anchored to the past, this is your answer. One is fighting for credit. The other is building something so big that credit becomes secondary, and the league has to decide which direction it wants to follow, because only one of them leads forward. If you're watching this unfold in real time, you already know. This story is far from over. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is this leadership, or is it denial? And make sure you're subscribed, because the next chapter is going to hit even harder. Those achievements are real and worthy of recognition. Yet Wilson...
Caitlin Clark is driving the WNBA insane. It's to the point that she may need to step away from the WNBA, have a billionaire come in that has the money to prove a point, and say, Caitlin, I'll pay you $50 million just to see if the WNBA can make it without you. Let's go create a complete different league and expose the hell out of the WNBA just to embarrass this Angel Reese girl that Jameel Hill just said she could go down as a Michael Jordan of WNBA.
Yeah. Could not resist adding a pointed remark, telling the reporter that league history vanished briefly, a phrase chosen with intention rather than carelessness. She understood the implication and the audience it would reach, especially given how closely the comment matched Caitlin Clark's meteoric arrival during her 2024 rookie campaign. Recall the events of that season. Clark obliterated long-standing attendance marks, delivered television numbers the WNBA had never experienced, and drew more mainstream attention to women's hoops than the prior 10 years combined. Venues once half-empty became sellouts far ahead of schedule. Broadcasters competed aggressively for airing rights, and corporate partners rushed in with lucrative sponsorships. So when Wilson claims the past was momentarily erased, she is not defending some vague idea of tradition, but reacting to how Clark's influence eclipsed what Wilson's era established. The most revealing detail is Wilson's total quiet throughout Clark's unforgettable year. Clark captured Rookie of the Year unanimously, rewrote 62 league records, guided the Indiana Fever back to the postseason, and later became the worldwide symbol of the sport, earning Time magazine's 2024 Athlete of the Year honor. Wilson had countless chances to publicly applaud Clark or recognize those feats, yet she declined every time, and that absence of commentary said more than words could. She remained mute when Clark received threats, offered nothing when hostile road crowds targeted her, and stayed disengaged while Clark endured hard fouls and obvious physical intimidation. Despite presenting herself as a league leader, Wilson never used her platform to welcome the newcomer responsible for attracting millions of fresh fans. Now she frames her remarks as safeguarding history, but the timing tells another story. She waited until the peak visibility of her career, using Time's Athlete of the Year spotlight to subtly downplay Clark's influence while appearing to defend tradition. The move was intentional, strategic, and ultimately backfired. Wilson told Time it was not a personal shot, insisting she would continue winning MVPs and gold medals regardless, emphasizing that no one could diminish her resume. Notice how her focus remained fixed on herself, because even when addressing Clark's effect on the league, her mindset becomes clear. She interprets Clark's rise as a challenge to her legacy instead of progress for the sport. The article also framed Clark's emergence as fueling a toxic, racially charged narrative, implying she alone rescued a league built largely by Black athletes, language that appeared within Wilson's profile and aligned with the message she seemed eager to advance. Many fans observed this pattern during the season. Wilson often speaks publicly about unity, empowerment, and collective growth among women in basketball, but these veiled jabs expose a contrasting reality. She is willing to deploy subtle slights and coded phrasing to undercut the player who generated more visibility for the WNBA than anyone in recent years, revealing a sharp disconnect between her stated values and her actions, and pointing to deliberate calculation behind her words. Wilson had countless opportunities to act with generosity and embrace the newcomer who was lifting the entire game, yet she opted for envy wrapped in the language of preserving league tradition. The contradiction runs much deeper when you connect her past remarks about Clark's personal acclaim back to 2020. During 2024, as Caitlin Clark dominated media cycles, Wilson and other established WNBA players openly criticized the focus on individual recognition, arguing it was unfair and created division by centering attention on one athlete. Wilson framed Clark's visibility as an issue, injecting race into the discussion in a way that downplayed Clark's accomplishments. Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson even appeared on national television, insisting the entire WNBA deserved the Time magazine cover, not Clark alone. Wilson echoed the idea that Clark's spotlight ignored the work of others, especially Black players who laid the groundwork for the league. She positioned herself as a guardian of history, claiming to defend proper acknowledgement for everyone who contributed. The storyline shifted toward teamwork versus individual fame, with Wilson depicting Clark's overwhelming exposure as damaging to the league and unjust to equally worthy players. Now jump to the present. Wilson stands alone on the Time magazine cover as the 2025 Athlete of the Year. Suddenly, those demands for shared recognition have vanished. The outrage over one person receiving too much attention has disappeared. The quiet response says everything. Wilson now appears by herself on that magazine cover, highlighting only her own success, and there is no resistance at all from the very voices that attacked Clark's individual spotlight just months before. Share your thoughts below on this clear double standard. Does Aya truly merit this praise, or does the contradiction weaken the value of her accomplishments? A league that once preached team-first values and shared acknowledgement now celebrates Wilson as the lone symbol of WNBA achievement. No one insisted her teammates be recognized alongside her. No one argued that the Las Vegas Aces should share the honor. No one accused Wilson of eclipsing other worthy players. Every talking point previously used to criticize Caitlin Clark suddenly disappears when Wilson is the one benefiting from personal acclaim. That reality confirms what many fans suspected from the beginning. The backlash toward Clark was never truly about defending unity or safeguarding league history. It was rooted in insecurity and fear of losing the spotlight. Wilson and others were never opposed to individual praise or single-player attention. They simply wanted to be the recipients. When Clark's influence challenged their status as the faces of women's basketball, concerns about fairness and collective success were conveniently manufactured. The instant Wilson received her own solo magazine feature, those principles vanished, and when you connect all the pieces, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Wilson's opposition to Clark was never rooted in principles or defending WNBA ideals. It was about safeguarding her own standing at the very top. The double standard makes clear what this conflict was truly about from the start. But this is where the situation becomes even more revealing. To understand why Wilson feels endangered by Caitlin Clark's rise, you have to look at the data, and the numbers completely dismantle Wilson's position. Clark's rookie year produced financial growth the league had never seen before. Merchandise revenue exploded by 500%. Clark jerseys eclipsed Wilson's products by enormous margins. Arena attendance surged whenever Clark was in town, far surpassing crowds for Wilson's games. Television metrics made the divide even more obvious. Matchups featuring Caitlin Clark attracted viewership that overwhelmed normal WNBA ratings. Broadcasters rushed to air fever games because Clark guaranteed massive audiences. The marketplace sent a clear message about where the league is headed. Wilson's resume is undeniably strong. Multiple MVP trophies, championship titles, and a legacy as one of the greatest players in league history are firmly established. Yet Clark managed in a single season what took Wilson many years to construct. Clark's instant influence across every measurable category of the sport directly challenged Wilson's status as the face of women's basketball. Clark's composed and gracious reaction highlighted the stark contrast between the two players. Wilson represents the old guard, holding on to relevance through manufactured drama, while Clark symbolizes the future with her professionalism, leadership, and team-first approach. The next chapter of the WNBA will be written by athletes who lift the game and their peers, not diminish them. Clark continually demonstrates why she is the figurehead of women's basketball today, drawing in new fans, creating excitement, and raising the level of everyone around her. We're diving into the stories that matter, the dynamics shaping the league, and the moments defining its path forward. Share in the comments which WNBA storylines you want us to explore next, because this is only the beginning. The Caitlin Clark era is transforming women's basketball, and we're here to capture every defining moment. Many of you have pointed this out for weeks now. Clark's Instagram message perfectly illustrates why fans and sponsors are drawn to her more than many other WNBA stars. She embodies the kind of leadership the league needs as it moves forward. Clark uplifts others rather than trying to tear them down. She promotes constructive storylines instead of creating unnecessary controversy. She leverages her enormous reach to celebrate women's basketball rather than fracture it. Clark's reaction shows she understands a truth Wilson has yet to fully accept. The WNBA becomes stronger when every player thrives. Clark applauds the accomplishments of others because she recognizes that their success raises the entire league. Wilson, by contrast, treats achievement like a zero-sum equation, believing Clark's rise somehow subtracts from her own legacy. The basketball community paid close attention to how each athlete handled this moment. Clark came across as a composed leader who rises above small-minded jealousy. Wilson came off as guarded and uneasy about her standing within women's basketball. Clark's poised response confirmed that she possesses the qualities that define true champions, both on the court and beyond it. Wilson's opposition to Clark was never rooted in principles or defending WNBA ideals. It was about safeguarding her own standing at the very top. The double standard makes clear what this conflict was truly about from the start. But this is where the situation becomes even more revealing. To understand why Wilson feels endangered by Caitlin Clark's rise, you have to look at the data, and the numbers completely dismantle Wilson's position. Clark's rookie year produced financial growth the league had never seen before. Merchandise revenue exploded by 500%. Clark jerseys eclipsed Wilson's products by enormous margins. Arena attendance surged whenever Clark was in town, far surpassing crowds for Wilson's games. Television metrics made the divide even more obvious. Matchups featuring Caitlin Clark attracted viewership that overwhelmed normal WNBA ratings. Broadcasters rushed to air fever games because Clark guaranteed massive audiences. The marketplace sent a clear message about where the league is headed. Wilson's resume is undeniably strong. Multiple MVP trophies, championship titles, and a legacy as one of the greatest players in league history are firmly established. Yet Clark managed in a single season what took Wilson many years to construct. Clark's instant influence across every measurable category of the sport directly challenged Wilson's status as the face of women's basketball. The evidence speaks for itself.